All right, gods and goddesses in training. Welcome back to the channel. I am Uncle Makara, also known as Sumed Chatterjee, author of TPM Theatroplasticity Method, and I'm a positive psychologist. And take everything I say with a grain of salt, okay? Because there's a lot of personal study that I've done in my life, 30 years of being alive, into the occult, into mysticism. And this is not going to be medical advice, okay? I'm just showing you the correlations that are there, okay? And there are correlations there. And I want you to be aware of these specific correlations because once you get more clear about this stuff, it's really gonna help you be more smooth sailing, okay, in this reality. And I really want you to understand that once you have your alignment with your most grand desires, when you're tapped into your own flow state frequency or code, okay, your own divine blueprint, you will receive the next clues automatically. Okay. There's no need to force it. There's no need to try to circumnavigate it and micromanage it. Okay. It is fully you, only you, and nobody else. You are serving the collective with your gifts. And if you're here to do that, then please continue listening. Give me a like, share this video. Let's get started. Okay. Let's get wired in, tapped in. Okay. Stretch yourself before you wreck yourself. Okay. Let the fascia and the kundalini move through your beingness, through these downloads, through these epiphanies. Okay. Now, okay, let me just share this with the tribe real quick before I forget that. Before I forget that. Okay. All right, guys. Sweet. So, growing up, I was deeply melancholic. I was deeply anxious. I had a lot of headiness, a lot of imagination. Actually, the greatest imagination that I could ever imagine in childhood, because, and I've really got to thank my parents for this because they gave me the freedom to explore these different archetypes in childhood. They gave me leeway to go and try things and do things and explore my inner world. You know, they bought me all the toys I want. I didn't even ask for toys. You know, I wasn't like that kind of a kid who's really like going after stuff. It's only later on in my years that I started to get into more of a retail therapy type of thing and, you know, going down a bad life full of just escapism, you know, a bunch of escapism. And then I used the moment my life shifted is when I used an externalization, right? I used psychology alongside healing together, energy work as well as the mental world work, right? The psyche and the spirit. That was the greatest epiphanies that I have had. And since that time, I've begun to really rewire my nervous system, rewire my sense of self, right? I've self-actualized towards this Uncle Makara avatar, this character that I've created for myself. And now I just want to give back. You know, I just want to give back and help others to do the same and be the healers of their own tribe. Move forward and do it on your own. If I can do it, so can you. I truly believe it. Okay. And you can give me a whole list of excuses like it's because of my age, it's because of my, location, it's because of this, it's because of that. But honestly, how much longer are you going to rationalize this, okay, towards yourself? Listen, the present moment is the only time that's guaranteed. So what are you even waiting for, right? Join the Adepts program if you want to learn more. Okay, this is a masterclass you're watching free on YouTube. Okay. However, if you want to join the Adepts program, 99 a month, go and sign up. Okay. Make that big decision, that proper decision for yourself, because that's really going to accelerate you and you'll be tapped into the energies of the collective, right? That's the best thing. So I'm not antisocial, but I am vibrationally selective. Okay. I am understanding that there are certain energies that do vibe with mine and go along with it. And I'm there to be around them, help them heal, and so forth. I'm also there to shock my system sometimes and meet people who are completely different to me, you know. I'm completely open to that too. And being able to learn from that. Because honestly, it takes a lot, you know, it takes a lot to unwind and, you know, disentangle yourself from different concepts and things like this. But think about it, okay? Then be about it. This is about possibility, you know, inclusion, not discriminating against different entities. Listen, man, different entities are like the plant kingdom, biobial kingdom, right? Just like there's different elements of the periodic table, there's different energies and entities and spirits, and it changes based on every culture we look at across the map, right? Different cultures have different ways of perceiving this. And back in the days, they actually do used to believe that a lot of the times that this was like, spirit possession or something like that, right? Entity or demon possession, or, you know, these energies or ghosts of the town would like, slowly move you away. And we have a few here in Kolkata in West Bengal, like Shakchuni, right? We have what else? A bunch of these ones, right? They're just very, very common ones. They're coming off the top of my head, but there's always lore and myths that you can look at to really notice also the evolution of the psyche of a specific culture, specific area of the planet, right? And as I traveled the world growing up, I've also understood how to pick up the different energies of the place, right? And we can teach you how to do that in the collective as well. Okay. So let's get started. First of all, I want to talk about schizophrenia, possession, this idea of dissociative identity disorder, right? DID. So in many traditions, demons or possession represents a fractured mind. Okay. A fractured mind that is invaded by foreign energies. Okay. So in psychology, DID involves the presence of different identities and different personalities, while schizophrenia may involve auditory or visual hallucinations, right? Similar to when you take a psychedelic, right? Metaphorically linked to hearing voices, feeling possessed by external forces, and so forth. So I've noticed that people who are schizophrenic are more in their mind. They need to learn how to ground themselves back into the present moment, back into presence again, instead of being caught up in the past and future and being so wrapped up in the mind, right? Where all these concepts are happening. So you're overly intellectualizing something maybe, but you're not really working through it and reflecting on it. Once you understand that real knowledge is actually comes through the reflection process, the integration phase of the flow cycle, this thing will change for you, right? The next one we want to talk about is from the Jungian side of things. Okay, Carl Jung, psychologist, Swiss psychologist. Shout out to him. Okay, the shadow self is brought up, okay? The id, you could say, as Freud called it, right? But this is also what is the cause of a lot of anxiety and depression, is the shadow side, because the shadow represents repressed aspects of the self, right? And if you repress a certain part of you, that will create some inner bubbling, right? Some inner turmoil that comes up. So anxiety and depression can be seen as manifested of unresolved inner conflicts, right? Which align with this spiritual concept of the shadow demanding to be integrated or acknowledged in some way, right? These entities need to be acknowledged, like, hey, here you are. I remember when I had anxiety, I gave my anxiety a name, and that helped me externalize. So externalization is a big, big theme, right? In psychology and healing and in these spaces, okay? So you got to really understand that, okay? Very powerful stuff. Next, we want to talk about narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD. If you notice, Narcissus, where the myth actually comes from, but this is characterized by overinflated sense of self-importance, mirroring the need for admiration as seen by gods like Zeus, Apollo, Narcissus, right? These gods who completely embellish in themselves, okay? And they allow themselves to get to such a point of fixation of the self, right? The self-cherishing gets to such a precipice and starts to cause almost a fracturing of the identity, right? Because it's like, I'm not able to find out who I am. And so I'm just going to wear this mask all the time, thinking I'm the shit, where I'm not actually feeling that inside. That's the kind of effect that it has on you, right? You might feel like you're just putting on this show on the outside with a mask, appearing really confident, but inside you're stuck. You feel, you know, stagnant and so forth. So this is kind of something to understand with narcissism and so forth. And also, we can kind of associate narcissism with demonic things as well in a certain aspect. Okay, if you really look at it and you find the bridges, a lot of channels have done that already. I think I don't need to cover that, but just it's interesting to notice that there is a link. Okay, look up Teal Swan, what she says about demons, okay, and narcissism. trickster spirits like Loki or Hermes or any of these other beings, right? They can honestly remind you of someone with ADHD, right? So if you have ADHD, you might come across some of these trickster beings, especially also in maybe in bipolar disorder. If you have bipolar disorder, hyperactivity, impulsivity, this unpredictable nature, these random mood swings, this causing havoc, kind of like the Fae, right? Trickster spirits, super chaotic, super unpredictable, right? But they oscillate between helping and causing havoc. That's the thing, right? They're helping, they're healing, and then they're causing chaos, and then they're helping healing again, and then they're caught. It's like a weird kind of mix, right? With a lot of these trickster me. So I honestly like to distance myself when it's like watching a really good movie, right? So if you attend any of our channelings, don't like absorb the spiritual essences in you. Just observe, watch it, like a good movie, ask the questions, and then reflect on it later, right? In that moment. It's a good idea to just explore it with your own open-heartedness, but also keeping your discernment, right? Banshees in folklore are the wailing spirits. So if you've ever had panic disorder, this scream of like this imminent death or doom, panic attacks, some people, they lose their sense of control. They have this feeling of terror and they suddenly scream with overwhelm, right? It's like a foreboding of a doom that's about to emerge, similar to the banshee. So think about that. Then we have the Buddhist perspective of the hungry ghosts, right? So think about the obsessive compulsive OCD or addiction, right? In terms of the hungry ghosts, because they represent the insatiable desire and craving, right? Addiction can also be seen as a manifestation of this constant need for satisfaction, constant need for feeling okay and good, right? So similarly, OCD uses these repetitive behaviors similar to anxiety, to unfulfilled cravings of these spiritual entities. So they want more, 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 right? Some people also speak about lush as this concept of chi or prana through our body and how it gets siphoned out, okay, and so forth. There are ways to protect yourself from this, obviously. If you do any kind of cleansing work, like chanting, mantras, meditation, healing, yoga, um, if you know anything about healing, if you know anything about crystals, if you know anything about the psychology of the chakras, okay, this is really going to help. Okay, it's just going to give you an edge over other practitioners who aren't making the bridge towards the spirit. Because all these dating coaches, they'll tell you like, yeah, you got to have riz, you got to have game. They miss out on the spiritual aspect of things. Have you guys noticed this? Give me a thumbs up if you notice this, right? A lot of them are missing out on the spiritual aspect of these things. It's very important to consider this, okay? And I also want to call out the kind of spiritual emergency, like psychosis patients who have an accidental Kundalini awakening that leads to a spiritual emergency where it's like a psychotic break or where you lose touch with reality at times. And I've had a certain manic state like this in the past. I do remember, but it didn't last long. It was like a very brief, like it felt like a glitch almost in the Matrix. Um, but I do understand that, a lot of hardcore Christians might look at the serpent and Kundalini and be like, that's just Satan feeding your chakras or whatever. And like any practices that you do is just like taboo and you shouldn't ever touch any of these practices and only, and it's funny because then there's also the people who mix the Christ teachings of the Gnostic Christianity with the Kundalini. There's like a bridge, and then there's like the hardcore against, and then there's like the hardcore for. But anyway, besides that topic, I'm very passionate about this. So, I might be going in different tangents, okay? But the serpent energy is powerful, but it can be overwhelming. Okay, so that's why you need a proper guidance. If you do one of my programs, you're going to get proper guidance so you don't lose touch with reality or something like this. I want to make sure that you're cognizant, you're clear, you have clarity, you're happy, you're present, and you're leading a good life. You're, remaining light, authentic again, and not relying on other energies to feel okay, feel good. We have this kind of will or this codependent kind of patterns of the wearing a social mask and just like appeasing others that sometimes just lets us drop into somebody else's reality where we just got to be like, no, that's enough is enough, right? This is a strong boundary. No. So furries, harpies, okay, borderline personality disorder. If you've ever seen harpies, they're very aggressive figures, right? They punish those who break divine laws. It's like intense emotions, fear of abandonment, right? Like impulsivity. It can feel like a relentless internal force, right? That's driving this extreme emotional response. And so the best thing to do with these types of energies, I mean, even with something like bipolar or BPD or any of these ones, is definitely qigong and energy practices. So there's something off with the qi or the energies where it gets stuck or stagnant in certain parts of the body, and that's one theory as to why this is happening. Okay, to certain individuals and people. I forgot where I learned this from, but I remember doing research on it a little while ago, and it was on, what was it on? It was on OCD. It was on, I think it was on bipolar disorder as well. I worked with someone with bipolar disorder, and I remember I cured him of his bipolar through a process that we did. But that was a very long program. It was like 12 weeks, right? Um, let's see here. But yeah, I would definitely say that it's about maintaining the energy within you, right? Just noticing and feeling through your feelings. Like if you're not doing that already, you got to start doing that. Okay. Next is angels. Okay. Obsessive compulsive personality disorder. Okay. So archangels represent a divine quality of divine order, but this doesn't mean precision and discipline towards absolute need for order, perfectionism, and control, right? And yes, these archangels, they use righteousness, precision, and they're very like strict with their laws and so forth. But it doesn't have to be an OCPD, I don't think. Okay, it's a close one, but I don't think that's one where we really have to explore, right? Because it's like we don't even understand the laws of these entities. They have maybe their laws of their own world, right? So we've got to understand. Of course, there is cosmic law, there's divine law, right, that connects all of us, but we also have to understand there might be differing energy bandwidths, you know, different ways that they interact with humans and so forth. Okay. So we're taking this on as an understanding. The more I speak about this, I don't want to ever filter myself, in these videos. I don't ever want to feel like I can't say this or this is too weird or I'm going to get, people are going to call me crazy or whatever. I think I've honestly lived my truth enough to help others through this path because I know it so clearly now, right? So let my certainty in my voice speak for me. Don't listen to the other noise, okay? Next one we have is the chimera. Okay. Now, the chimera could be looked at through the body dysmorphic disorder, right? So that means that you have a distorted body image perception. Like, because the chimera is so many multiple parts of different creatures, different animal parts, this could symbolize your fragmented body image issues, right? Oh, this part of my body isn't okay, right? And the obsessive thoughts about those perceived flaws in your physical experience and appearance that you get wrapped up in that reality like a cloak, right? And it starts to nudge you, right? As you're living, you're like, oh, yeah, even though you kind of have an all right stomach or whatever, you're like, oh, I have this huge pudgy belly, right? You don't see it, right? You just don't see it. You see what you want to see and believe about it. And so that's the body dysmorphia. A lot of people experience this kind of stuff with the advent of social media. A lot of us were just craving the attention. We're just craving the love and attention and affection from others by presenting ourselves in different ways, right? And so this is not a presentation game. This is a game of presence, and presence will automatically regulate you back into oneness and back into the Tao. Okay. So you don't really need to figure out some kind of exclusive way to move forward. Okay. This is your way, and it's going to look differently for two different people, right? You have a different human body. Okay. We might say the bodies are the same. They're definitely not. I don't think they're the same because the body is a reflection of the mental realities that we've lived, right? It's like a storage unit of all the stuff that we've gone through our bodies. Think of it like that. Think of your body as a survival suit based on all of the stuff that you've gone through, right? You might see different things in your body that you don't like, but you got to respect it either way. Like I remember I have stretch marks, right? Because I did grow muscle fast in a short period of time. And so I've reframed it as a tiger scratches, right? Or like someone trying to claw through my Kevlar with like adamantium Wolverine claws, right? So I see it differently, right? So you always have to understand how to see yourself differently. Okay, not in a diluted, jaded way where you're not actually taking care of something that needs to be taken care of, right? But really, fine tuning this journey for yourself and not just going with the immediate approach with, you know, even nowadays I get worried because there's certain doctors that just choose not to work. It's just like it's very uncommon to stop working. Like that's just bizarre. Like this is your life, your dharma, you're here to work in a way. But maybe it's a redirection of your work, right? You need to find the best way forward for yourself, right? And really do what it is that makes you happy. Everything else is just kind of an illusion. And what we think will make us happy oftentimes doesn't, right? We try to shortcut our way towards that. And so when we're understanding mental disorders and we're understanding these entities, we got to start looking at them as actual living beings, okay, that have an impact on us. And this paradigm, this way of thinking about things is the way the witch doctor or the shaman thinks about things. Is you could look at some demon from the Goetia, associate it to a mental disorder, understand the way that it uh, wraps up somebody's mind or psyche, be able to create a protocol for them where they clear that bad boy out, and the next week they're getting a promotion or something, or they're changing their life in some way, right? It's very interesting the way that if you guys don't believe me in this, okay, go to Sapien Medicine. Okay, go to Sapien Medicine. It's a very healing sound files that he creates. And a lot of the videos are also removed, so you can find maybe the version that is also on Odyssey on certain deleted videos. Okay, that's a hack that we use. His old videos are on there as well. Okay, not deleted. So listen to the one in very, very low volume. Okay, it's very high pitched. Okay, the one for entity removal. If you can find it and play it for at least 15 minutes, and you notice your day getting much better, there was something attached to you. Okay, for sure. Because you're going to start to notice a shift in your beingness immediately. Okay. And if that's the case, you really got to understand that this thing might be a possibility, right? But let's not even go into this weird gambling paradigm of this dopamine hit of is there possibly some beings around me, right? That kind of freaks you out. Okay. Now, if you're freaked out by these topics, I completely get it. It's valid. It might be your own conditioning. It might be certain ideas that are there. But let me get you to actually approach this with a fresh pair of eyes, right? Like if you were in a movie, right? And this was happening. You were in like Doctor Strange world or something, right? And these beings were actually attacking you, you would have a way different approach in the movie, right? Than you will have in the 3D dense reality of everybody convincing you you're crazy, that's off. Yeah, demons aren't real anyway, man, whatever. Like bypass, 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 right? Rather than what actually not going towards medicating, but educating. I think this is the most important aspect too, because the more you can plaster some medication on top of entity work, let's say something is really you're struggling, right? And then you plaster on a bunch of these sedatives. How are you able now in emergency settings, of course, right? It's important to get that checked, but like you're really just about to kill yourself or something. Like I get it. Like the severe cases, yeah, go get help. But generally, I would say this can be reduced. The symptoms can be reduced. You can heal. You will start to feel better. It's just you gotta lean into this stuff, man. It's not easy work. It's intense work. Nobody wants to face their feelings. No one wants to face their gunk. Nobody wants to face their inner demons. Nobody wants to do it, okay? But this is what it really takes. This is a confrontation with your inner world. And once you understand what this is, then you don't have to look at it as a mental disorder, but a mental order. Okay. Because what if you saw your OCD is actually helping you ritualistically, right? Where everything is fine tuned and precise in a very positive way, and it's not harmony. full of some kind of an irrational, intrusive belief that if I don't place this here, I'm going to get injured or something. Okay. So don't create these imaginary circumstances for yourself. Instead, go more into your physical body. Have practices like yoga, stretching your body, actually feeling into your body, because that's where all the energy is going to come down and you're going to actually be able to experience life through your senses again, right? Maybe you're just in apathy, in numbness, but also in your mind a lot. It's you're not really able to let go of these emotional strongholds, right? That are there trying to move you and weave you in certain ways. So you'll notice that if you think of these ascended masters, you bring up any of their names, these beings flinch. They go, eh, eh, they start going like this, right? They start freaking out, right? Internally. You got to hold them over the flame of that abundance, that God spark, until they remain still, and then you promise them to enlighten them as well, because you are going to be enlightened. And if they are trying to attach to you, you just tell them, look, come back, because I'm not here to work with anybody. I'm a sovereign, I'm a spiritual authority, and I only work with certain beings that I choose. Okay, so come back, but I will help you enlighten, maybe in this life or next life, right? So you just take your power back, and then you can move forward with your own approach as a modern day shaman. Okay, and peak performance shaman in this workings. Okay, now there might be, like, let's say you're working with a company or something, and they have a specific entity associated with their brand or business, right? Now you need to understand how to work with another counterbalancing entity to work through that resistance or block that that company holds, right, as in their gates or something like that. So that's something to understand as well. But generally, you will get all of the signs. And if you do work with certain beings, they will give you the right signs, right, that will help you align greater towards your path and make you way more understanding. Like, there's a lot of hawks outside my window because I work a lot with Haru or Horus, and his energies remind me to stay focused, right? Remind me to stay honed in on topic, right? On protocol, on Tao, on Dharma, okay? On the flow code, whatever you want to call it. Okay, it is there. So I know I kind of this James Bond vibe or whatever, right? But let's get it today, okay? I hope you're having an incredible day. May the flow be with you, and may we never be the same again. I hope you enjoyed this topic, and let's speak soon.